couple of the key elements in a person's relationship blueprint or romantic blueprint in terms of what we're looking for, how we want our partner to be, our prospective partner or our current partner. There's two primary elements that drive that. We're usually looking for someone to idealize and someone who will mirror us. And I'll explain it, but we're usually looking for someone to idealize. And we also tend to be looking for somebody who's going to mirror us. Somebody to mirror us is kind of like somebody, not exactly who's going to idealize us, but who's just really going to like perceive us really well and really all the good stuff and really accurately and like mirror us and give us all kinds of good feedback about us and like that. So we're usually looking for that experience in our relationships and in our romantic relationships. And looking for somebody who we can idealize. Because, if we're with them, then we feel good about ourselves. Right? So in psychological jargon, it's called idealization transference and a mirror transference. Okay? And it plays out hugely in romantic relationships. People tend to want to be with somebody that is going to mirror them because that supports their identity. It supports their relationship blueprint. It supports how they know themselves to be. It supports their identity. And people tend to want to be with somebody who they can idealize also because that supports our identity in a different way. Okay? People who mirror us, it confirms our sense of goodness and greatness and perfection. It's like we're confirmed by that. We're validated by that. People who we can idealize, like people who we can look up to, they give us a sense of where to go, what to do, what's good, a sense of power, a sense of infallibility. It's a good example of this, which might make it clearer, is you ever notice that Democrats are just really, get a strong sense of belonging and identity, being part of that party? Right? You ever notice that about Republicans? You ever notice that about independents? You ever notice that about Buddhists? You ever notice that about Muslims? You ever notice that about Americans? About what?
Vegans.
Vegans. Yeah. But people get a very strong sense of identity by associating with somebody or something that they have as right and the right thing and the good thing, and it really makes us feel good because we're part of a non-profit, right? Or I don't know what the opposite of a non-profit. I'm trying to cover all the bases here. What's the opposite of a non-profit? A Fortune 500 company, right? So this is a very strong way that people reinforce their identities. It's a very strong drive in the relationship blueprint, the idealization transference. Okay? And it plays out, and we tend to look for people where if we're with them, then we can feel good about ourselves because we're with them. We're with somebody who's smart, or we're with somebody who's rich, or we're with somebody who's a Democrat, or we're with somebody who's good looking, or something like that. And we also get our identity reinforced by being with somebody who's paying a particular type of attention to us, where we feel very validated by them. We feel very seen by them. Right? Now, am I saying that it's not a good idea to be in a relationship with somebody who sees you? No, I'm not saying that. It's nice to be seen. Everybody likes to be seen. Right? Everybody likes to be seen, and better yet, the richer and better looking they are, fantastic, awesome. I'm not saying don't be with a Democrat or an independent or a Republican or a Buddhist or a Muslim or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we tend to need that. Our identity tends to get fulfilled. Our relationship blueprint tends to be reinforced, and it's a type of you could call it a type of object hunger. We tend to really need that to feel okay. And we tend to try to turn our relationship partners into that, or find people who are going to do that for us. You with me so far? Is this making sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And it just doesn't work because a romantic partner cannot fulfill that for us. It's impossible. A romantic partner cannot be the good parent that we needed to idealize. And we needed to mirror us at an appropriate stage when we were young. We needed that. We actually really, really, really needed that. And nobody's parents did it perfectly. And some did a pretty damn good job, and some did a pretty damn poor job. And everything in between. But a romantic partner cannot fulfill that. And people try to use their romantic relationships to fulfill those needs. And a romantic relationship just really can't do that, because eventually the idealization transference or the mirror transference just sort of breaks down, And in the beginning, they were so ideal. Everything about them was perfect. They were late, and you thought that was fantastic because they were so free, and they were, they didn't bathe, and that's great because you like hippies, and I don't know what they were.
They had a messy room.
They had a messy room, and that was great for whatever reason that was great for. And they were a Republican, and that was great because they were a different party than you, or whatever it happened to be. In the beginning, they're so. You ever notice in the beginning of a relationship, they're so great, but then after a while, they ain't so great anymore. Right? So, a romantic relationship can't fulfill. We tend to pursue ideals, and inevitably, the person's going to disappoint you, and it's going to be experienced as a great offense. They're not going to see you the way you want to be seen, and it's experienced, we feel offended.
Betrayed.
Right? They don't put the an old classic example, they don't put the toilet paper on the way you think it should be put on, and they're not paying attention to me. Or they don't, whatever it is. And somehow that turns into that they're not good enough, and they're not paying attention to you the way that they should be paying attention to you. So these are fundamental drivers in romantic relationship, and people tend to want to find people who are going to do that, or provoke the other person into doing that, or coach them into doing that, or so it's the relationship blueprint, which comes from, as y'all said, a long time ago. parent-child relationship really is where it comes from. And that's inflicted onto our current romantic life and current romantic partners. And, eventually those transferences just break down and they don't fit the bill and they don't see you that way and you need to be seen and whatever. And it's a great offense.
It's, for those of you who are new, the relationship blueprint, we're describing it, and we teach a 3-day seminar called the Pleasure Course, and the whole first day is about uncovering your particular relationship blueprint. So you learn it and you have your hands around it, and it's so funny because there's a couple in the Oracle of Life and Love, the class we have on Wednesday nights, and he took the Pleasure Course already, and she has not yet, and she's in the upcoming Pleasure Course in February. He's like, oh, I can't wait to find out what your relationship blueprint is. And she's like, your relationship blueprint. And it's all, he has an idea of what it is already, and she's going to distinguish it, and it's pretty funny.
Right. So, the question that we're really leading up to is, how does that play out for you? How does seeking your ideals play out for you? And how does needing your partner or prospective partner play out for you? How do those transferences or those psychological constructs, how do those use your relationship life so that you're experiencing your partner through that? Instead of actually really getting to just simply be with them. So one of the really nice things is that when you're just simply being with somebody, it's really miraculous. When you're present, just being and awake, walking down the street is pretty damn miraculous. Existing is pretty damn miraculous. And then existing and interacting with somebody, that's like, it's like having your cake and eating it too, right? But when we're doing all of that other funny business, it's not. So, I shared a little bit about my life earlier. And, I had gone, up to that point, with Nikki Selmo and Phoebe Greco before that, and a few other, really amazing women. I'd been in these amazing relationships. But they were never quite it. And, I was getting older, and at a certain point I started to take inventory, and I noticed something. I noticed wow, they were all really amazing, but I thought they weren't quite it. And I was the common denominator in, that nothing was really quite it. And it was very humbling, actually. It was like seeing that I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground in terms of romantic relationship. And, I just thank my lucky stars I sort of admitted that and, got an opportunity to look at that. And it's not like all of that is cleared up and is totally gone. You can ask Alicia, But there really is something to knowing that about yourself. To knowing what those deep psychological constructs are that use your relationship life, especially in the form of, and then we'll come to your question. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good. What are those ideals that you're inflicting on your relationship partners and the ways that you're needing your relationship partners to mirror you? How does that go for you? Because we're going to clear that up and get that out of the way too. And then from there, actually get to create and envision and design your romantic life for 2018, right? So that it's not given by something unconsciously, like you just kind of chasing ideals or trying to get certain needs fulfilled that parents, relationship partners can't fulfill, okay? And then that brings up sort of an obvious question of what do you do with all of that stuff? So we're going to do question answer in about 15 minutes. And so if you have some questions about that, we'd be happy to answer that as well. In fact, let's open it up for a few questions now. Melissa, please.
So I completely get idealization, transference, and mirror transference. It makes total sense. But how do you distinguish those from just being attracted to somebody? Like if I'm attracted to somebody, Am I attracted to them because of idealization, transference, and mirror transference, or am I attracted to them because I'm really attracted to them? Like, what do I do with that, I guess?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. It's really the perfect question for where we are right now. If you're feeling your body, the answer is a very strange answer because it's not an answer of anything to get the mind in any particular orientation. If you're really feeling your body, which is the same thing as being present, and you're turned on to a person, and you're really turned on to the person, and if you're really feeling your body, you're a lot more likely to be turned on to the person. And if it's more like not feeling your body and a whole bunch of thinking and calculating and all the rest of this kind of stuff, then it's more like them fitting the bill. Or at least that transference, those ideals and or they're going to be a good parent and mirror me and all the rest of that kind of stuff. I know we don't say that to ourselves, but it's more like, okay, this is somebody who's going to like make me feel good about myself and all the rest of this. If you're not feeling your body, then that's typically what's playing out. And the attraction is more like, not like real attraction. It's more like erotic attraction. It's more like lust. It comes with a feeling of attachment and suffering. It comes with a feeling of being ill at ease. It comes with a feeling of like, I need this. As opposed to if you're really in your body and you're attracted, it feels good.
Yeah, I had that when I was I had a high school sweetheart, okay, and his name is Rob. And he and I were together for like 4 years, and we both went to college, and went to different colleges, and like loved each other, but had to break up, and it was just this whole thing, and I loved him so much for so many reasons. And he was a soccer player, and had sort of a soccer player body, and was like really into soccer. The next 2 men that I dated in college, and then another one in college, were soccer players. They had like his exact body, and his, and I would hang out with them, and it was very much a projection, really wanting to be able to idealize them like I did in the last relationship or be mirrored or feel like I did when I was with Rob. But with these other 2 guys, it was like when I would feel, there wasn't really anything there. It was all in my head, trying to repeat something that I had experienced in the past. So luckily I realized that at a certain point. This happens sometimes, like when some of us have types of people that we always go for. There's some of that idealization transference or mirroring transference in that, if we're looking for the same type of person over and over again.
And there's nothing wrong with having this kind of stuff drives people. It does. There's nothing wrong with it. We're more inviting you to have room for that stuff, so that there's the actual, so you're not as limited by it. You'll still have some preferences, and there's still the ego there and all the rest of that kind of stuff. We don't need to be against that. We did this with the Oracle of Life and Love, another group we teach last night, and a man who had a lot of issues being attracted to his wife and all the rest of this kind of stuff. He did this exercise. It was so beautiful. It was the peak of the whole session for me. He wrote a poem that was celebrating her and her beauty. It was so beautiful, and that was his vision for the year. Right? So what's your vision for the year outside of the predictable stuff?